Your direct deposit failed again. I muttered to Jeff in accounting, even though I already knew the answer before I sent the message. Error in payroll number 47 for this quarter. Always Jeff, and always me. Who fixed it? Every office has people like us, the quiet cleaners of other people's mistakes. I was that woman on the Complas. A living pill for HR. A Scott Sun for payroll. My name is Sharon. And for 18 years, I kept this damn company from total collapse. Contractors are properly registered. That's me. Overtime is accounted for and legally approved. Me again. The annual report was submitted on time. Again, me with cold coffee and a migraine. I didn't go to corporate parties or bake cupcakes for Brenda's birthday. But if you lost your tax forms or the benefits system froze, it was me, the ghost in the machine, who fixed it. No applause, just another message. Thank you, Sharon. You saved us. As if I hadn't just pulled the company out of yet another minor legal mess. And on paper, I was an operations specialist. Level 2. Level 2 was a promotion in my 5th year. No raise, but a ton of new responsibilities and the joy of tormenting an intern who once asked, W-2, that's the form with the shares. Yes, my office was windowless, between a pantry and a microwave that always smelled of burnt popcorn and dashed hopes. But it was mine. I had a flower named Deborah and a system of folders, more accurately, any NASA base. I didn't need an office on the corner. I had laws, instructions, and knowledge. If someone really looked at how the company is structured from the inside, they would understand that only I kept this engine from exploding. And then there was a meeting, without warning, just an invitation. Quickly synchronize HR and operations. A topic that always smells of trouble. I come in, Mara from HR is already sitting. Her lips were pressed together, as if she was trying not to let out a secret. Sharon, she said too cheerfully, we want to thank you for your years of service. Yeah, I see what kind of meeting this is. We're going through a restructuring, she continued, reading from a piece of paper like a hostage. Unfortunately, your position has been deemed redundant. I blinked slowly. Excessive. I repeated, as if she meant something else by the word. We're sure this will be a positive new step for you. She's saying as if she just won a cruise. You can definitely handle it. And of course, we're doing you a favor, Mara said. You will have a modest severance pay. I didn't throw the stapler. I didn't scream. I didn't even bat an eyelid because at that moment when she said favor, something clicked inside me. If they tell you that being fired is a good thing, then they're simply beautifully deceiving you. And when your job is to know every labor law down to the last comma, you don't accept such favors. I nodded politely and professionally and left the room with the same face I always had when I was fixing Jeff's broken payroll system for the 3rd time in a month. But inside me, a storm was already gathering. A storm of 7 years of tables, inspections, and a very well-written letter to the labor inspectorate. The fluorescent lights in the HR room buzzed like a dead fly. A room where dreams turn into pieces of paper and die quietly. There was not a single chair on my side of the table. Just Mara and her intern, sitting like vultures on comfortable chairs. Between us, there's a box of napkins, either for support or as a mockery. Sharon started Mara, folding her arms like a kindergarten teacher. You have been a valuable member of our team for so many years. These words have been piercing me like a needle for so many years. This isn't personal against you, she continued. This is about efficiency, strategic optimization. Honestly, it's a favor. She repeated the favor again slowly, as if handing me a rare gift. You will have a chance to find new opportunities. I've seen your work. You can do it. I can do it. Yes, I've been pulling your asses out of legal fires since the Bush era. I didn't ask about time off, didn't ask about insurance, didn't ask why Jeff from accounting, who tried to write off his wedding in Vegas as a business trip, was still working. I just looked at her, nodded, and said, got it. It was that understanding after which it's better to stay away. The intern smiled, as if she had seen the birth of a new girl boss, handed me a thin envelope with documents, and sent me on my way. No security, no farewell claps, not even an awkward speech. When you've been invisible for many years, no one even notices your departure. Returning to the table, I turned off the lamp from my flower. Deborah took her arm, and left. No box, no pathos. Just me, Deborah, and 18 years of work that were simply buried at that moment. And then the farewell letter arrived. Subject, thank you again. The final summary of the HR, smiley. Smile. That little smile at the end was a real stab in the back. The text itself looked like it was written by a sociopathic robot. Paragraphs of bureaucratic writing disguised as care and a comic book-style list of next steps. And at the end of the letter, we are so proud you were part of the team. Please use this time to rest, think, and reset. Rest, think. Seriously? I'm the reason your contractors haven't sued you yet. I'm the reason the table released/not released doesn't look like a crazy crossword puzzle. And now you're advising me to take a break? Not a word about help during the transition period, not a normal explanation. Just a link to a survey from a third-party company, most likely into the void where no one reads anything. And the invitation will be added to LinkedIn and then in the fourth paragraph like a mine. We appreciate your understanding as we continue to align the operation strategy with long-term growth goals. Translation. Someone had to be fired. You didn't shout loudly. They chose you. They thought they could throw me out as expired and move on with their lives. But the problem with yogurt is that when it goes bad, the whole fridge stinks. I barely slept that night. Not because I cried. Please. I cried harder when my favorite shampoo was discontinued. It was different. A cool, focused state. The same one in which I sorted out payroll errors for 3 departments that forgot to submit timesheets. Here you don't blink, you document. I got up sharp at 6:15, brewed my bitter coffee, fed Deborah 3 ice cubes. As always, I sat down at the laptop like a surgeon in an autopsy. And here it is, a letter from Mara. Strategic redundancy next to a positive transition. Attached is a PDF titled Voluntary Termination Review. Voluntary. Come on, I even expected to see a confetti GIF in the header. I read it 3 times. It's not because of emotions. I locked them away in the basement long ago. I studied the wording, and there was that very line that made my eye twitch. Due to Sharon's status as an exempt employee, company policy does not allow for additional pay for accumulated overtime. Oh, you children. The mistake is that you fired your in-house labor law expert. I know where the skeletons in your closet are. I know what is considered unpaid wages under a gay law and what falls under the misclassification. I wrote training materials on this topic myself. I hit reply and wrote 4 words. Thanks for the clarification. And then, like a pinch of spice, I added the detail. Copy, Department of Labor, Wage and Hour Division. Not a complaint, not a heartbreak. Simply a request to review the employer's policy on the status of exempt employees when they are terminated with accumulated overtime. Neutral. I wrote the letter in dry, formal language, the kind that makes bureaucrats' ears perk up like dogs smelling a tax return error. I didn't send it right away, but took a sip of coffee. Bitter, overscorched, but my favorite. I glanced at Deborah and said, "So, ready, girl?" and hit send. 1 letter. Like a missile with a warhead of legal references and polite formulations. And yes, I smiled. Just a little. A small twitch at the corner of my lips, like an invisible middle finger in Morse code. You see, they were expecting a standard script. Panic, tears, maybe a caustic goodbye tweet. But I'm not one of those people. I don't burn matches, I file papers. And properly filed papers can start a fire. By 9:52 a.m., I received a response from the Labor Inspectorate. Your request has been received. A representative may contact me to clarify the employer's policy. It was short and dry, but I got it. Some office in Columbus had already opened a file with my name and a note on the inspection. I didn't burn a bridge. I simply gave the arsonist a copy of the fire code as a bookmark. Turn to page 14. At 9:53 a.m., I received a notification. Mara had opened your email. Such is the power of politeness. It leaves a paper trail that could strangle anyone. I could just see Mara drinking her green smoothie, which she hates, and rereading my email, wondering if it was a threat or just bureaucratic coughing. At 10:06 a.m., the first whiff of panic arrived. A forwarded email landed in my inbox. Someone mistakenly hit reply all. Mara was writing to someone named Dennis. Can we confirm if she is eligible for reprocessing with exempt status? And why did she add the labor inspectorate to the copy? Darling, if you're asking questions like that in writing, consider yourself already burned. I didn't answer. It's stupid to interrupt a thunderstorm when the lightning is just starting to warm up. At 10:31, another email arrives. This time from Dennis to a larger circle of recipients. I wasn't on anyone's list, but someone secretly blind copied me. Maybe it was one of the marketing interns whose tax form I once helped correct. Loyalty can be strange. Dennis writes, check Sharon's request. It looks like she pointed out possible classification errors. If the labor inspectorate responds, we may have to provide 7 years of audit documents. And then it happened. Someone CC'd the CFO, formally, for information. But in the HR world, CC'ing the CFO is like shouting through a megaphone in the middle of a church. Ben, the CFO, didn't respond. Of course, people like Ben don't write letters, they call. But even from my couch, I felt a change. The pressure in the air fell like before a tornado. I imagined Mara turning slightly pale, her bright lipstick suddenly seeming too loud. She probably pulled her laptop closer and whispered through her teeth while the HR intern offered her chamomile tea and stupid advice. By midday, it became clear that something was stirring within the company. HR sent out an email to everyone. As a reminder, work correspondence must remain confidential. Contacting an external agency may lead to misunderstandings. Translation: don't be like Sharon. But the trick is, I didn't contact anyone. I simply asked the question in their words, their rules, and they understood it, which is why they were nervous. Not because I set something on fire, but because I put a candle next to a box that said incorrectly registered contractors. 2017 to 2022, the dominoes started to rock. They haven't fallen yet, but their silence in the letters spoke for themselves. Where they used to write churs, they now limited themselves to dry regards. I refreshed my inbox every 10 minutes. Not out of anxiety, but because I knew it was about to start. I'd seen this scenario before at other companies. I just never thought I'd be running it myself. At 3:20 p.m., someone from finance called in accounting. An urgent audit of contractor archives. Early 2016. These are the problems with skeletons over the years. You open a closet, and they all tumble out with badges and expense reports. By the next morning, it wasn't a whisper anymore, but a real cold front swept through all the chats and corridors. I no longer officially worked there, but my inbox didn't die. Friends wrote from personal addresses. So what have you done? One even sent a blurry photo of the board from the conference room, where it was written in red marker, preparing for a salary audit like evidence at a crime scene. The finance department was forced to increase all overtime starting in 2016. It was an order. The lawyers were already poring over contracts with contractors, mumbling about gray areas and the risk of liability. And Jeff from accounting, the same one who once passed off a casino expense at a client meeting, was by then having his third breakdown of the day. They say he was screaming about what the 1992 modifier even was before they took him to the break room with a juice box. And I was sitting at home in a robe, drinking microwave coffee and watching this fire burn like a palace arsonist in curlers. I didn't write anything, didn't respond, just read, smiled, and refreshed my inbox. And then HR sent out an email. Subject: a friendly reminder about the privacy policy. Oh, darling, the text itself reeked of panic. Every sentence seemed to be written in sweat. During the strategic review, we remind you not to discuss internal audits outside the company or through informal channels. No, please don't gossip or make assumptions. Professionalism is about protecting the team, even when transitions are difficult. Translation: shut your mouths before Sharon's letter turns into an inquisition. I could practically hear Mara typing on the keyboard, and 2 HR people were standing over her, asking, "Isn't that too soft?" Or maybe, on the contrary, "We need to be tougher?" Late. The dominoes were already swinging. My former colleague Carla wrote an SMS. They say they check the timesheets of all managers, even Ralph's. But he hasn't worked full-time on Fridays since Obama. Ralph is the director of something loud but vague. If they're rummaging through his watch, it means their claws are out. In my letter, that very polite thank you for the clarification has already been printed out and stuck on the HR door like a damn talisman. There they whispered about it as a trigger, and I didn't even have to do anything. They themselves were behind everything. Panicked responses, unnecessary requests for documents, nighttime searches for old forms. All this only increased the target for the labor inspectorate. It's funny. For years they ignored my letters, skipped my trainings, and brushed off my warnings. And now the entire office was rummaging through 7 years of digital junk. And I have long ago neatly folded this junk into blocks. I didn't scream, I didn't swear, I just put it down. On Wednesday, at 10:12, an official letter arrived from the labor inspectorate. Nothing dramatic. No sirens, no agents in glasses. Just PDEV on 2 pages with a fresh but destructive request. Provide 7 years of documents. Timesheets, overtime, contracts with contractors. The entire letter was sent to the company's general legal representative. Within 20 minutes, it was forwarded to the CFO. Another 10 minutes later, his assistant, poor Emily, was running down the hallway with a box of PL 2017 Q4S, not full. They say she tripped over someone's footstool but didn't let go of the box. True professionals know when they carrying the holy grail of corporate screw-ups. Meanwhile, there is silence in the SLC, as if cement had been poured into the servers. The same people who used to send jokes and memes every 2 hours suddenly disappeared. Even the girl from marketing who posted motivational sunrises on Mondays went silent. At 1:47 p.m., Carlo writes to me. They pull everything out. Everything, even old contracts with contractors from 2016. Everyone is panicking. What did you do? I typed it in, just asked for clarification, and looked at the blinking cursor. I deleted it, rewrote it, and eventually sent it, but didn't do anything. They answer their own fears. Because it's true, nobody blamed them. There was no denunciation, no trial. Just a normal professional inquiry about how the company applies the rules to my layoff situation. All their cuts were self-inflicted. By Thursday, urgent meetings began, 3 a day, lawyers, finance, HR. Everyone is in their own little panic. CF Ben hasn't shown up at all since that PDF. They said he now worked from 7 a.m., so no one will catch him. There were rumors that he was already calling in external auditors. My favorite rumor is that IT people were asked to check what files I opened in the last month of work, as if I had planted a digital bomb there. Although for almost 20 years I myself have been sorting these archives for them. And on the same day, movement began on LinkedIn. Former colleagues like my old posts, affirming my skills like compliance monitoring and risk assessment. It looked like people were simultaneously laying flowers on a grave and frantically updating their resumes. Dylan from marketing, the same one who once called me a spreadsheet wizard on a quiz, wrote, "Honestly, this is epic. They underestimated the quiet one, and the office is melting before our eyes." I didn't gloat in posts or messages or even in my thoughts, but it was nice to sit at home in sweatpants, drinking chamomile tea, and knowing that everything is collapsing not because of a place, but because of a question. One tit for words in an email with a smile. I didn't scream, didn't take revenge, didn't call the press, didn't storm the doors. I simply asked the system to do what it promises. Check, confirm, and respond. And now the system was already knocking on the door. On Friday, exactly 8:3, Mara's name appeared in my inbox again, like a rash that is returned after hoping for cream. The subject of the email sounded as fragile as her voice in that sterile meeting room. A small clarification on the latest, a smiling face in messages. Yes, that smiley face again, as if parentheses could mitigate legal risks. I didn't open it right away. I was watering Deborah, rearranging the spices, deciding if I had the strength to read the letter from the woman who handed me a dismissal package like a Starbucks discount coupon. At 8:17, the phone rings, the number is hidden. I let it ring twice, then picked it up on the third, just to regain my silence. I remained silent. Let her blink first. Sharon, E. This is Mara from HR. I hope you're well. Her voice is sticky, like honey that has had time to sour. Pause. Waiting. We just wanted to get in touch and clarify the misunderstanding about your letter to the labor inspectorate. Here it is. The mask has slipped. She is in a hurry. The speech is clearly memorized. It seems there was a misunderstanding. We are afraid that this may look like an official complaint and cause unnecessary escalation. Unnecessary escalation. It clinks like glasses at a funeral. I took a sip of coffee. I remained silent. Let it hang. I didn't file a complaint, I said calmly, like a monk. During the thunderstorm, she got confused. Well, technically you copied me in after all. I copied the inspection. I interrupted in the letter asking for clarification on the status of your own dismissal notice. I simply asked for clarification. I could almost hear her eyes blinking. It's just that an audit causes a lot of stress within the company. Some departments are counting. I didn't do anything, Mara, I said evenly, without anger, but with the firmness of one who no longer needs a place, a position, or approval. If there is stress, it is due to incorrect classification and chaos in the documents. This is not mine. This is yours. The silence is longer than before. I imagined her at the table, looking at her own papers and realizing exactly where she had lost control. A hint at the moment when I decided I wouldn't notice the comma. She coughed, her voice becoming quieter. If you're ready to formally withdraw your request, we could reconsider your compensation package. Perhaps add support when searching for a job, even extend your insurance. I almost laughed, but I just answered. Generous, but I don't bargain. I don't participate at all anymore. I just asked a question. From here, it's between you and the state of Igeo. Click. No anger, no screaming. Just a soft beep and a woman with nothing to lose and a hard drive full of backups. For years, they taught me to be silent, to sit quietly, to fix their mistakes in the spreadsheets, while the big guys at the top made a mess. And now, they called themselves, hoping that I would stop the storm. But storms don't negotiate with umbrellas. On Monday morning, a letter arrived from the Regional Labor Inspectorate Office. Based on your request and the documents provided, our team will conduct an on-site audit of your payroll and employee classification systems at your facility. Starts this Thursday at 9 o'clock. Officially dry, like a bomb in a box. At 9:07 a.m., the phone started ringing. They sent auditors, Carlo wrote. Real ones with tokens and everything. I didn't answer. I simply poured myself a strong coffee with oat milk and settled into the chair that I used to call my sick day throne. Deborah fell apart in a sunspot. I opened the local news out of curiosity. Half of me expected the company to be on fire already. The office was really on fire. Not just furniture, but dignity. Rumor had it that the CEO had called an urgent meeting of the leaders. Translation: panic. Half of the directors were late, arriving with coffee and weak excuses. The CFO looked like he hadn't slept for a week. His assistant was pushing a cart with old HR folders, still marked with marker from 2015. The rumors were getting thicker. Ben was already calling outside lawyers before the meeting ended. A labor lawyer was called from Columbus. In the kitchen, the staff avoided each other's eyes. Slack's cheerful channels quickly gave way to the Polytraveth grid and the urgent DATS dump grid. They said that the CEO personally called Mara into the meeting room for 10 minutes and closed the blinds. She came out with smudged mascara and a sticker on her heel. In HR, this is a sign. Everything is real. The scale of the audit was enormous. 7 years of unpaid wages, incorrect classifications, unpaid overtime for released employees who were driven away after work, contract workers who actually worked as full-time employees, but without benefits and paperwork, lost Forms A9, phantom vacation hours, and the old skeleton, the intern who was quietly fired in 2018 when he threatened to complain to the staff. The documents were not completed at that time. And who has all the evidence? I have. By Tuesday, executives were sitting in closed conference rooms for hours. The lights in the offices remained on until night. Food delivery bags piled up at the door like monuments to the fallen. They said someone in the accounting department had a panic attack when he was asked, bring everything from 2016, even the notes on the calendar. And I was drinking my second coffee, this time black without milk. Victory doesn't need sugar. I didn't post anything, I didn't brag, I didn't send memes. It wasn't revenge, it was precision. All I did was put a copy on the letter. But this copy became the heart of a great reckoning. Reckonings gleaned from forgotten reports, ignored letters, and the memories of that woman at the table next to the pantry. A woman who saw everything, remembered everything, and smiled when she heard. No big deal. There turned out to be a problem, and now the whole building was shaking. At 6:42 p.m., the phone rang. I was just folding the towel. A number lit up that I hadn't seen since someone tried to set up a quick meeting without an agenda. I looked at the screen, not because I didn't recognize it. On the contrary, I got to know it too well. I just wanted to finish folding the towel. Two Gutkas. I let go to voicemail. Then curiosity got the better of me. I called back. "Hello," I said, holding the last towel in one hand. There's a pause on the other end, heavy with a hint of panic. It was Ben, the CFO, the same one who once brushed off my 30-page meme on the Compass, asking the secretary to condense it into points. Now his voice wavered at my name. "I just got news," he whispered, "from the Labor Department. Full salary audit. 7 years ago and until today. They need everything. Not only forms, but also meeting notes, letters, calendars." I remained silent. Let him get there on his own. They're looking at employee misclassifications, overtime, contracts, and they mentioned your name in the original email. "Your clarification," he said as if the word had burned his tongue. Then he asked quietly, almost breaking down, "Why did I get a notice of a full audit for 7 years?" I didn't change my tone, no malice, no emotion. I simply sent the documents for clarification. The silence on the line became deafening. The same one that hangs in the boardroom when, heads will roll. When the lawyers are whispering, AR asks, "Who even approved this?" And someone answers, "Sharon didn't approve." She was warning. Vin was silent. I calmly folded the last corner of the towel. Finally, he squeezed out, "You understand, this can ruin the company's operations. Millions in payments, fines, investors." I interrupted. "I have nothing to do with this anymore." I did not file a complaint. I simply CC'd the regulator on the letter based on the wording for my dismissal. Everything else is the work of your lawyers. And at that moment, their entire sense of control crumbled. He didn't shout, didn't threaten lawsuits, didn't threaten career consequences. He knew, as everyone knew, I didn't set fire to the buildings. I turned on the spotlight. One polite email, a soft voice, and a copy to the right person. And now the CFO of a huge company sat in his glass office, pale, his hands shaking, realizing that the woman they deemed unnecessary had just rewritten the future of their business. I hung up without a dramatic click, just a gentle tap. I poured a glass of wine, turned on the background video from Nivet, and smiled a smile that HR wouldn't write a single instruction against. Quiet, purely forever.